Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Audio Fanfics and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto fell in love with Fem Haku during the Wave Mission, Naruto X Fem Haku, Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. The sun has just set on the village hidden in the leaves, Kanahagakure. It was the day of the Genin selection exams. One young yellow-haired boy is in the middle of the woods trying his hardest for his makeup exam. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu. Screamed Naruto. Poof! A dozen clones of him came into existence. Yada! Yelled Naruto. The scroll said that these were solid clones. Better test one out to make sure so I don't fail the exam, he observed. Come here, he told one of the clones. As it walked over, Naruto suddenly charged said clone and kicked it in its face, leaving only enough time for him to see its slightly shocked face before it poofed once more out of existence. Strange, my face kind of tingles like something struck it. Maybe I'll ask Gigi about it later. What should I do now? I've already mastered the jutsu, so I guess I could just rest. Murmured Naruto to himself as he sat on the ground to wait for a teacher to grade his work. About an hour later, a man in black pants and shirt with a green flak jacket, his hair in a pineapple-looking ponytail and a scar across his nose came into the clearing and found Naruto just napping on the ground. He steals a scroll of powerful and forbidden techniques, from the most important person and place in the village, and when I find him he's taking a nap in the middle of nowhere. He asked himself as he walked up to the young blonde. Coughing lightly into his fist, he gathered as much air into his lungs before shouting at Naruto, his head somehow growing as he did so, "You moron, what the hell are you doing?" Naruto, scared out of his sleep, was momentarily terrified, convinced that the village was under attack or something, before realizing he had company. "Iruka-sensei, I found you, Datebao!" shouted Naruto. The now identified Iruka sighed as he pinched the bridge of his nose, sighing before telling Naruto, "No, I found you. Now what are you doing out here and why did you take the forbidden scroll?" The blonde looked at Iruka with a rather confused expression on his face. "What do you mean, Iruka-sensei?" asked Naruto. "I'm here training for the makeup exam," he said as if it were the most obvious thing in the world, like the color of the sky, or the awesomeness of ramen. "He came out here to train. He's exhausted and was napping when I got here. How long was he working?" "Wait, what? What do you mean makeup exam, Naruto?" asked the scarred man. Naruto smiled as he proudly hefted the large scroll. "Mizuki-sensei said that if I got this scroll from the Hokage and learned a jutsu from it, I could graduate since I failed the normal exam." "That's strange. Why would Mizuki tell him that? Unless..." All of a sudden the sound of shuriken and kunai being thrown reaches his ears. "Naruto, get down!" shouted Iruka as he tackled his student. "Well done, Iruka. I didn't think you had it in you," shouted someone in a tree on the edge of the clearing. He was a silver-haired man in the same outfit as Iruka, but with a pair of gigantic throwing stars on his back. "Mizuki, what is the meaning of this?" shouted Iruka at the silver-haired man. "I've gotten rather bored here, Iruka. This place has been holding me back from day one. So I found a new master, one that will give me power. All I needed was a little gift and all that I ever wanted would be mine." "You're insane, Mizuki," shouted Iruka. "Come Naruto, let us leave this place and fulfill our every dream. Give me the scroll," screamed the demented silver-haired man. "Don't give it to him, Naruto," yelled Iruka. Cackling, Mizuki simply asked, "And why should he listen to you, the one who lied to, and hated him all his life, Do you want to know why you are hated, Naruto? Why no one loves you or ever will?" "Stop, Mizuki," yelled a desperate Iruka. It's because you are the nine-tailed fox that attacked the village 14 years ago. It was you who killed the fourth Hokage. It was you who killed Iruka's parents. What? Thought Naruto, is that true? Am I just a monster? Did I kill all those people? Did I kill the Yondaime and Iruka's parents? If that's true, then I guess I deserve to be treated this way. No, he's not, shouted Iruka. He's just a child who's had a burden no man should carry on his own thrust upon his shoulders. He is Naruto Uzumaki, shinobi of Konohagakure no Sato. Naruto then remembered all the people who made his lonely existence bearable, the Hokage, Iruka, and the family who ran his favorite ramen stand, the Ichirakus, and he began to smile. Thanks Iruka-sensei, I know who I am Naruto Uzumaki, the next Hokage. Mizuki just stood there and smirked. How can you be a Hokage if you're dead? He asked as he grabbed several shuriken and kunai and threw them at Naruto. Shit, thought Iruka as he tackled Naruto, getting him out of the line of fire, thus making the kunai hit him instead and pinned him to a tree. With Iruka pinned to a tree by kunai, Mizuki wound up one of his giant shuriken about to throw it, with Naruto watching from where Iruka knocked him down to. Say goodbye to your demon brat, Iruka! Screamed the insane Chunin, as he let fly with the shuriken. No, no, no. I can't let Iruka-sensei die like this. But I'm not strong enough to beat him. Do you want power, boy? What? He thought as he fell into the blackness. Inside Mindscape, Naruto woke up groggily, before shortly realizing he was in a strange sewer, lying in the water. Ew. Why am I in a sewer? Wait, Iruka-sensei. He started to panic slightly before realizing that before he could help his sensei, he had to find out where he was. Noticing the water was flowing like a river, he decided to go upstream to see where the source of the water was. Following the pipes, he soon came to a large chamber with an area sectioned off by gigantic metal bars closed with a paper with the kanji for seal on it. Feeling this was important, he walked up to the gate, only to jump back as a large pair of red eyes opened behind it, as well as a large toothy disturbing-looking grin appearing and a deep booming laughter being heard. So my warden finally graces me with his presence, said the same voice he heard in the forest. Where am I? Asked Naruto. We are in your head, Kit. The place that represents your mind, said the voice. Why, you're the fox, aren't you? The Kyuubi no Kitsune, asked a terrified Naruto. That I am, Kit. So do you want my power? Asked the fox. I do want power, but not yours. I want my own power so I can protect my precious people. If it is not my own, it would be a hollow victory, replied the young blonde. The Kyuubi stared at Naruto for a few moments before bursting out into laughter, and saying, Good answer, Kit, you're a warrior born. Tell you what, I think I'll give you a new power. Don't ask me how it works, as I only understand the basics myself. So do you accept? That depends on what this power is, and what you want in return, said Naruto, slightly suspicious of the giant fox. Once again the fox burst into laughter. This power is what I believe you mortals call a Kekkei Genkai. And all I want is a chance to see the outside world. Before Naruto could protest such an arrangement, the fox cut him off and continued his speech. I don't expect you to open the doors right now or anything like that. That comes later when I eat you. Right now I just want you to tear off a small part of the seal so that I can see through your eyes, smell through your nose, hear what you hear. After 14 odd years of being locked in a cage in the sewers, I've gotten rather bored. How large a part of the seal? Asked Naruto. About the size of your thumb, replied the Kyuubi. Yes, the ripping off a part of the seal thing is a cliché, but I don't care. Isn't a Kekkei Genkai something you get from your parents? If you're asking what I think you're asking, then yes. If you have children, then they could have this bloodline as well. What kind of Kekkei Genkai would I get? It is a power called black blood and it turns your blood black as well as allowing you complete control over it. Again, I don't know what exactly you can do with it, but I can think of a few things, such as forming weapons with it and making a type of armor, or simply surrounding someone with it and crushing them to death, as well as increasing the amount of blood in your body by about triple the amount. Kyuubi explained. What do you mean triple the amount? Questioned the confused blonde. The average human adult has 5 pints of blood within their body, little over a gallon. Triple that and you get 15 pints, which is just shy of 4 gallons. You on the other hand are a 14-year-old midget kid, so you don't even have that much. But how would I get it out of my body without cutting myself or getting hurt over and without killing myself due to blood loss? Asked Naruto, a little miffed about being called a midget. Well, you see, when you use your powers, your skin will open up like a lid, think Kimimaro, and when you're finished getting the blood you'd need, you'd simply close up without a trace, or I'd suggest you put as much into one of those sealing scrolls you mortals are so proud of as you can. As for dying from loss of blood, you'd only need the normal amount to live, which means you essentially have 2 bodies worth of blood to go through before you enter the proverbial danger zone. That does sound pretty awesome. Alright, I'll do it, Datebao! Shouted Naruto, as he walked up to the gates. He reached up to one corner of the seal and slowly and meticulously ripped of a piece no larger than the last digit of his thumb. All of a sudden, large amount of a red substance started to crawl towards and engulf Naruto. As it touched him, it started to burn, and he began screaming from the pain. HMPH. Did I forget to mention this was going to hurt? Oh, how careless of me, said the fox, without a hint of remorse in his words. Naruto soon collapsed on the floor of his sewer, panting for breath as he glared at the fox. Is there anything else I should know? Let's see. Well, since this isn't a Dujutsu Kekkei Genkei, there are elements that combine to make it. In this case, along with whatever your natural affinity is, you now have an affinity for earth and wind. What do you mean? Asked the clueless blonde. Very well, you idiot kid, I'll explain. Mortals usually have what are called affinities to certain elements, which means that using a jutsu from that element is not as taxing as another. Take you for example, unless your natural affinity was already for fire. Now that you have that black blood, a fire jutsu will always cost more than either an earth jutsu or a wind jutsu. Sugoi. So I have 3 affinities now? Asked a suddenly hyperactive Naruto. Silence. Screamed the fox, instantly getting Naruto to calm down. You might have 3 affinities, kid. Earth or wind might have already been your natural affinity. Scolded the fox, leaving a sheepish Naruto. So my blood is now black? You said I had complete control of it. How does that work? How do I control it? Wondered Naruto. Yes, it is, and from my understanding you simply have to channel chakra to your black blood and then it will bend to your will. Now I believe you have a teacher to save Kit. Uruka sensei. Holy crap, I forgot all about him. How do I get out? How do I get out? Screamed a now panicking Naruto as he ran around in circles waving his arms around like a maniac. If you allow me to speak I will answer you. If you wish to leave all you simply have to will it. But before you go, I don't suppose you could do something about this place, could you? It is rather depressing, said the fox. I'll do as much as I can when I have the time, promised Naruto even as he felt once again that he was falling into darkness. Real world. Naruto came to just in time to see that the giant shuriken that Mizuki had let fly had moved perhaps a foot from where it had been before he had met with the fox. Thinking quickly, he remembered the fox's words on how to control the blood and his idea of using it for armor. He jumped between Uruka and the shuriken, and held up a hand palm out. He then focused as much chakra as he could into the blood vessels in his forearm and hand and thought about the blood hardening. As Uruka watched in horror, and Mizuki watched in glee. The shuriken got closer and closer and then struck Naruto's outstretched hand. But rather than cutting his hand off, it barely cut him before it stopped. Mizuki and Iruka watched awestruck as Naruto tossed the shuriken to the side and growled at the silver-haired man, "Just try to hurt Iruka-sensei, you piece of shit. I'll repay you anything you do to him 1,000 times over." "Naruto, how did you do that?" mumbled Iruka to himself. "What can you do, little fox? You're just a poor little abomination that needs to be put out of its misery. After I kill you, I'm going to kill Iruka as well," screamed Mizuki, cackling insanely. "We'll see about that, Tem," yelled Naruto as he made a classic hand sign, Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, multiple shadow clone jutsu. 1,000 Narutos popped into existence and stared with utter hatred at Mizuki, who was starting to sweat profusely. "Bring it on, little demon. You are nothing compared to my might." Suddenly a strange black substance came out of and covered every Naruto's cut right hand, covering his arm up to the elbow. After every Naruto had his arm covered, they charged the silver-haired man. One kicking later, a beaten and bloodied Mizuki lay on the ground as a sweaty and exhausted Naruto stood panting over him, panting. He then walked over to Iruka and said, "I did it," before pulling all the kunai out of his friend. "Naruto, can you sit down and close your eyes?" asked Iruka to a very surprised Naruto. "Sure, Iruka-sensei," said Naruto. Soon he felt a strange weight on his head and had to resist the temptation to look. "All right, Naruto," said Iruka, causing the blonde to open his eyes. The first thing he noticed was that Iruka no longer had his Hitai-8, which caused him to feel his forehead. He then started to tear up as he felt Iruka's Hitai-8 on his head. "Congratulations, Naruto. You passed this year's Genin selection exam," said Iruka with a proud smile towards his favorite student. He was then tackled to the ground by an ecstatic blonde blur, which was laughing merrily. "Nay, Naruto, how did you do that anyways? The thing with the shuriken and your arm?" wondered the scar-faced man. "Oh, that's easy, Iruka-sensei. It was a Kekkei Genkei that the fox gave me." "You're damn right I did," said the fox, startling Naruto for a second, but he decided to worry about it later. Iruka wondered for a second if he had gone crazy or was sleeping, but he had always been sane and he was in too much pain to be asleep. "I'm sorry?" asked a deeply confused Iruka. "When Mizuki-tem threw that shuriken at you, the fox pulled me into my, I think he said, mindscape or something. Anyways, it asked me if I wanted power, and I told it only if it was my own power to protect my precious people, or else it would be a hollow victory. It then gave me a bloodline which allows me to freely control my blood as well as tripling the amount of blood in me. He then told me that if I didn't have it before then I have both an earth and a wind elemental affinity. It then said that I can give the ability to my kids if I had any." The new genin ecstatically explained to his sensei. "Interesting, Naruto. Well, now that this whole fiasco is over, how about we give the scroll back to Hokage-sama, and then go have some ramen to celebrate?" "Yada! Ramen!" screamed the blonde while going to pick up the almost forgotten forbidden scroll. As they left for the Hokage's office, neither one noticed nor cared that the Hokage's elite forces, the Anbu, showed up and took Mizuki away. At the Hokage's office, Hiruzen Sarutobi, otherwise known as the Sandaime Hokage, looked at the young man who he considered a grandson and his teacher as they explained the events of the night. "And then Naruto picked up the scroll and we came here, Hokage-sama," finished Iruka, who was standing at attention in front of the Hokage's desk. "Very well. Mizuki has been apprehended and been placed in a cell at the T&I department. As for you, Naruto, I'm very proud you were able to beat Mizuki even if it was foolhardy and reckless of you. I am going to approve Iruka's decision and make you a full genin. I am also going to give you the mission pay for AB rank and put one on your record." Report tomorrow at the academy at 10 to receive your team assignments. But before you go, I'd like a sample of your blood so that we may run some tests on it to see what you can do," said the Hokage. "What do you mean sample, Gigi, and didn't I already tell you what I can do?" asked a thoroughly confused whiskered genin. "Well, Naruto, some abilities have uses that can only become apparent after serious study and deliberation. I just want you to live up to your full potential," explained the aged man. "All right, Gigi, do you have something to keep the blood in?" The Hokage thought for a minute before he called, "Neko-san." After he called, a young woman with purple hair and a cat mask appeared kneeling before the Hokage, and asked, "What may I do for you, Hokage-sama? Do you have some kind of container that we may use for a sample of Naruto's blood?" asked the Hokage. "No, I do not, sir. But Tora is a medic, so he may have one," she replied as a man in a tiger mask appeared with a glass vial. "Naruto, can you put some blood in the vial or do you need some sort of assistance?" asked Hiruzen. "Thanks, Gigi, but Kyuubi told me how to do this," he said excitedly as he held out his left hand palm up. After about 3 seconds, 2 bisecting lines appeared on his palm and the skin split and blood flowed out. The 4 adults in the room looked worryingly at Naruto only to see that he didn't look uncomfortable in the slightest. After an amount of blood had come out, his hand closed without even so much as a scar. "Fascinating," thought the Hokage and Tora. The blood then began to hover in the air in a sphere about 3 inches across, and Naruto started to sweat from the concentration needed to do this. The blood then began to flow into the vial. Naruto only got about 3/4 of it into the vial before his concentration broke and the rest fell onto the floor, the Hokage's desk, and Tora's gloved hand. "Sorry, Gigi," said Naruto as he looked at the floor and the desk where his blood had fallen, looking both mentally and physically exhausted. "It's all right, Naruto," replied Hiruzen, "it can be cleaned. Now how about you go home and rest? You have a big day tomorrow." "But Gigi," whined Naruto, "Iruka-sensei promised me ramen." Smiling, Iruka replied, "Tell you what, Naruto, I'll take you for ramen tomorrow. Right now you look dead on your feet. How about it? I'll hold you to that, Iruka-sensei," promised Naruto as he bid everyone goodbye, but just as he was about to leave he remembered something and turned to the Hokage, much to the surprise of everyone present. "Hey Gigi, is there something I should know about Kage Bunshin? Because I was testing it out and I kicked one in the face, and after it disappeared it seemed like I knew what it felt like to be kicked in the face." Everyone just looked surprised at his observation as Hiruzen decided to tell Naruto of the perks of the Kage Bunshin jutsu. "Well, Naruto, the Kage Bunshin is a very special technique in that when a clone is dispelled, its memories are transferred back to the user and any other remaining clones. So anything that you the clones do you learn as well." Naruto scrunched his face up in thought, then asked, "So if one of the clones memorized a book and then dispelled, I'd memorize the book as well?" The others just looked surprised at his observation. "Yes, Naruto, that is exactly correct. It also works with jutsu or chakra control exercises. If a clone masters something, then you get the experience and you master it as well. Something that would take 2 hours would only take 1 with a clone, and something that takes a year would only take a month with 12. It is a great training tool, and since you have such high chakra levels, you could make hundreds of clones and you could master pretty much anything easily." At this point Naruto had sparkles in his eyes as he considered the possibilities of what his Gigi had said, and then he grew slightly confused. "Nay Gigi, what are chakra control exercises?" The Hokage looked slightly exasperated and simply told Naruto that he would tell him next time Naruto came for a visit. After some grumbling on Naruto's part, he left to go sleep. After Naruto had gone, he turned to Tora and told him with the utmost seriousness and a tone that said, "Do not this up, I need you to go to the hospital and have the leading hematologist run every single test imaginable twice on this sample. I don't care if he's sick with only hours to live. This power was born of the fox, and I don't want any unneeded complications. Do you understand me, Tora? Hi, Hokage-sama, said Tora as he disappeared to do as the Hokage told him. After he left, Hiruzen dismissed Neiko, sighed and turned to Iruka. What do you think? Can we trust Naruto's new powers? Iruka thought for a moment before replying. We may not be able to trust his new ability, but I place every trust imaginable in Naruto. I agree, Iruka, but it is better to be safe than sorry. I'm going to be putting a tail on Naruto for a while to make sure his new ability doesn't have drawbacks, said the now rather solemn Hokage. How long will this tail be on him? Asked the Chunin. Hiruzen thought about it and said, until his first C-rank mission. Iruka seemed to accept that and bid the Hokage good night. After he left, the Hokage swiveled his chair to face the window and sighed. It's going to be a long next few days. Naruto once again felt himself falling into the darkness, except this time he rather welcomed it. He again found himself in front of the cage. What do you want for a ball? Asked a tired Naruto. Screw you, kid, I just wanted you to make good on your promise to fix this abysmal sewer, retorted an annoyed fox demon. What do you want me to do? Inquired the blonde. I don't give a damn as long as there's more green, grumbled the fox. Naruto thought for a moment and then closed his eyes. When he opened them up, it was an improvement. They were now in a cave with the stalactites and stalagmites acting as the prison bars with sunlight pouring in through holes in the ceiling, which allowed moss to grow all over the place. One thing that was similar was the steady drip, drip, drip of water upon the small pools that were everywhere. All in all, it was a rather beautiful place for those poetically inclined. Which sadly neither inhabitant was. What the hell is this? Roared Kyuubi. It's the best I could do on such short notice, and if you don't recall, I had a life or death struggle not 2 hours ago. I'm tired and I want to sleep. Also, you said you didn't care as long as there was more green, whined Naruto, pointing to the moss. The fox, realizing the blonde had a point as well as not liking his own words being used against him, decided to remain quiet. So may I leave now? Asked Naruto. Not yet, Kit. I want to have a word with you about your conduct as a ninja. I want you to get your head in the game. Act serious. I have a reputation to uphold. What do you mean, Kyuubi? I do take being a ninja seriously. No, you don't, Kit. You treat it as if it were some big game. Well, newsflash, it's not. It's a life filled with death and isolation. In your time you will have to kill, and you will most likely also be killed. And before you say otherwise, look at your Gigi. How many shinobi are his age? How many are half his age? Naruto sat there trying to think of a comeback. Listen to me and maintain my image, and I will do all I can to help you, but know this. If I catch you slipping up, I will devour your soul in an instant. Do I make myself clear? Naruto, after a moment's thought, nodded. All right, Kyuubi, if you think you can help me, I will do as you say. But so help me, if you lead me down what I think is the wrong path, I will not hesitate to turn around, said Naruto to the fox, with eyes shining with determination. After a brief stare down, both parties grinned. This was going to be an interesting relationship. The next day, as Naruto awoke from his slumber, he began to remember the events from last night. Man, that was one crazy dream, he said as he began stretching. I agree with you, Kit. I am too good to be true, said the kitsune, startling Naruto enough where he fell out of bed. What the hell? Yelled Naruto as the Kyuubi laughed at him from inside his head. Wow, Kit, you really are dumb as a brick, said the Kyuubi, ignoring the indignant. Oi, weren't you supposed to do something today? Oh, I get assigned to my genin team today," shouted the ecstatic blonde ninja. As he started to get dressed, he suddenly found himself flinching at the sharp reprimand coming from within his head. "I swear to whichever god you believe in most that if after today you wear those disgusting orange eyesores, I will follow my brother and give you such horrible nightmares you won't sleep for a month." "What's wrong with my jumpsuits?" shouted an indignant Naruto. "They are abominations, and to throw them out would do a disservice to the trash. As well as they are highly impractical in the field. You might as well just hold up a gigantic sign that says, 'Over here, come kill me.' Also, you don't have to say your answers out loud. While it would be funny to see the villagers' reactions to you talking to yourself, I'd hate for you to be in a room for crazy people." After a little more arguing, Kyuubi managed to convince Naruto to give up the jumpsuits. At the academy, as Naruto was walking in to get assigned to his team, he nearly bumped into another person. This boy was Kiba Inuzuka, another graduate who had fang tattoos on his face and what to Naruto seemed like a strange obsession with dogs. "Hey Dobi, what are you doing here? Only the people that graduated should be here," asked Kiba, shouting for no real reason. As Naruto was opening his mouth to respond, he listened to what Kyuubi told him to do, and so he just smirked, pointed to his Hitai-8, and walked past the flabbergasted dog lover. Looking around for a seat, he decided to take one near the middle of the class, in an empty row, and just observed the rest of the class. After a while, twin purple and red blurs shot into the classroom. One. As they stopped just inside the door, you could tell it was two young girls, one a platinum blonde, the other a pinkette. As they went off on each other about Kami knows what, Kyuubi decided to strike up a conversation. "What kind of kunoichi has pink hair?" "Shut up, Kyuubi." "Sakura-cha." "Silence, Kit. Why do you even like her? All she does is hit you while fawning over duck over there." "Come on, Kyuubi, she's not that bad. For once, Kit, you're right. She's worse." As they had their silent argument, Iruka walked in and saw that everybody was there, so he decided to start. All teams are canon, too lazy to do anything else. Team 7 had been waiting for over an hour and they had gotten bored. Sasuke was simply brooding in a corner, Sakura was fawning over him trying to strike up a conversation, and Naruto was hovering somewhere between states of consciousness. "Naruto!" yelled Kyuubi, startling Naruto out of his semi-conscious haze. "Yeah, if you're bored, why don't you practice with that gift I gave you?" "Because I don't know. Why not? Nothing else to do. What do you have in mind? Why not simply try to make shapes out of the blood?" Shrugging, Naruto held out his right hand palm up, which didn't go unnoticed by his teammates, who were wondering both what he was doing and why he was even there. To their shock, Naruto's hand suddenly split open and some kind of black substance was pouring out. Neither could really look away from the spectacle, but for rather different reasons. "I think I'm gonna be sick," thought Sakura, turning a little green. "How is the Dobi doing that?" wondered Sasuke, finding himself interested despite his self-imposed aloofness. Then the liquid began to form shapes. It first turned into a slightly lopsided sphere, then a star, then a rectangle, a heart, a pyramid, switching to seemingly random shapes at seemingly random times, though as time passed, the shapes got less defined and he was starting to struggle. "Dobi, what are you doing and what is that stuff?" Sasuke asked rather awkwardly. "Well, Tem, I'm trying to control it, and as for what it is, it's my blood," he said casually, as if simply remarking on the weather, though his new comrades almost threw up. "What the hell? Why is your blood black? I mean, I've seen it before and it was red, and how the hell are you controlling it?" screeched the pink-haired kunoichi, nearly deafening both of the males. "Worse. Shut up." After digging in his ear with a finger so he could hear again, he simply responded, "It's my Kekkei Genkai, I unlocked it last night." For his part, he and Kyuubi were holding their laughter in at their flabbergasted expressions. Sasuke was the first to come out of his stupor, and seemed to take it personally that the Dobi could have a bloodline and that he unlocked it before Sasuke himself unlocked his, so he once again retreating to a corner to brood. Sakura returned to the world of the living a few minutes later and decided not to believe him, since him having a bloodline would put him somewhere near her Sasuke-kun, not at the same level, of course, but close enough. Naruto was simply content to, for the moment, ignore his companions and focus on his new training, trying to keep his focus and make more and more complex shapes. But he could only keep his focus for at most a few minutes, and make the most basic of shapes. And then the fun of his teammates bickering over dating rights would begin again and would make it harder for him to do anything. This was the scene that Kakashi walked in on another hour and a half later. A black-haired one in a corner seeming angry for some reason, a pink-haired Kunoichi fawning all over him outrageously, and the third blonde one sitting near the windows, with a black mass hovering over his hand, forming shapes. Kakashi had been told of Naruto's new abilities, yes. But being told was one thing, seeing was another. While he was slightly intrigued, he hid it well behind his mask of indifference. Team 7, he lightly asked, which apparently startled the new genin. As the brooder shot to his feet, the pink-haired one jumped so hard she fell out of her chair, and Blondie lost all concentration and the black liquid just fell to the desk. You know you're cleaning that, right? Deadpanned the Junin. After some mild cursing he continued with, meet me on the roof in 5 minutes. Before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. So how about we introduce ourselves, you know, likes, dislikes, plans for the future, dreams, things like that. Said Kakashi lightly. Well sensei, how about you do it first and show us how it's done? Asked Sakura. Alright, my name is Kakashi Hatake, I like many things, I dislike a few things, and I really don't have a dream. Now you Pinky. Slightly miffed at the nickname and the lack of information, Sakura said with some obvious strain in her voice. My name is Sakura Haruno, I'm the best kunoichi in the class. I like Sasuke, and hate Naruto, and my dream for the future. Well, she looked at Sasuke at this point and gave a squeal that sent a slight shiver down the spine of the three men. Pointing at Sasuke he said, You're up, sunshine. Sasuke, HMPHED, and began, My name is Sasuke Uchiha, and I don't have very many likes, which means I have a large number of dislikes. I don't have a dream, but I do have an ambition. To kill a certain man and restore my clan. Kakashi sighed as Sakura blushed at both his ambition and how cool he was. Alright Blondie, you're up. He said, pointing to Naruto. Naruto paused for a moment, and then, once again following the advice of Kyuubi, simply shrugged and said, Naruto Uzumaki. After a few moments of silence, Kakashi asked, Well what? Are you going to finish? I did. No you didn't, all you gave was your name. But isn't that the same amount of information you gave Kakashi-sensei? Kakashi once again sighed, and decided to let it slide for a bit, as Sakura was berating Naruto for trying to be cooler than her Sasuke-kun. So I have a brooding avenger, an annoying fangirl, and a petty blonde. I'm screwed. Well, now that we're introduced, at this point Sakura just, HMPHED, let me tell you about your next test. What do you mean, Kakashi-sensei? I thought we already passed our genin test. Asked Sakura. Well Sakura, that was just to weed out the hopeless. This next test is to sift out those with actual potential, and has a 66% failure rate. This test will take place at Training Ground 7 at around 7 o'clock tomorrow, don't be late. Oh, and you probably shouldn't eat breakfast or else you'll throw up. Ya nay, The silver-haired Junin then disappeared in a swirl of leaves with an evil chuckle, leaving the three of them with their own thoughts. HMPH, I'll no doubt pass this test. These losers probably won't, and then I'll be apprenticed to a Junin and I'll get strong enough to kill him. I don't care if Naruto passes, I just want to be with my Sasuke-kun. I really hope I don't have to do all this crap again. Too many life or death struggles are bad for you. Speak for yourself. Somewhere in town, walking around, Naruto was simply wondering how to pass the time. What do you think, Kyuubi? Well, you could go shopping for clothes, or do that clone thing the decrepit old man was talking about. Hey, Gigi is not a decrepit old man, Dadbao. Whatever, just do something, you're boring me. Naruto then walked into a shop called Higarashi's, considered by many to be the best place in town for ninja supplies. Hello, can I help you? Asked the girl behind the counter. Yeah, can you direct me to the ninja clothing section? Not if that's what you're going to wear. It's in the back just past that rack of swords. If you need anything, I'm Tenten. Naruto, after grumbling about how no one appreciated the color orange, thought for a moment and just couldn't help himself. What's your name if I don't need anything? After dodging several kunai, he made it to the clothes section and started picking stuff out. After about 10 minutes he walked up to the counter and placed down several sets of the same outfit. Black shinobi pants, black shinobi sandals, with a dark green camo jacket, and an orange sash. He just couldn't completely give up the orange, along with a new set of kunai and shuriken. He didn't buy any shirts since the Kyuubi decided that the black undershirts he usually wore would suffice. Is that all? Asked Tenten. Unless you think there's something that could help me train. Said Naruto. We have some weights if you'd like some. So Naruto picked some arm and leg weights as well as a vest, all of which were adjustable. Then, after paying for everything, Naruto took the clothes to his apartment, changed, put on just enough weight to make it hard to move, and went to go train for a bit, since it was only around noon. 2. Random training ground. Naruto was wondering of what to do when Kyuubi told him, why not send a clone or two to the old man and ask him for one of those exercises, and go send a couple to the library for some books. But books suck. They're boring. Perhaps I phrased it wrong, Kit. Send about 10 clones to the library now. Although, you should probably henge them so nobody wonders why there are 10 of you at the library. Fine, you stupid fox. About 3 hours later, over 100 Naruto clones were lining up with their own separate trees, all had bruises and scratches, and all were panting. Another 100 clones were working on controlling the black blood. All the while that this was happening, the real Naruto was simply working on his body, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, laps, punching and kicking a training log, and throwing kunai and shuriken. This was the scene that Iruka walked in on as he was about to take Naruto for some ramen. Wow. He only heard about it yesterday and he's already using the Kage Bunshin shadow clone to help him train. He's going to be terrifying in his prime. Hey Naruto, how about we get that ramen I promised you and you can tell me about your new sensei? Sure, Iruka sensei, just let me do something, he responded as he turned back to his clones. Alright, if you're almost out of chakra, dispel. The rest of you henge and go to the library and just read whatever. At this point most of the clones dispelled, leaving only around 10 with the original Naruto and those at the library, giving them a massive case of memory overload and a huge headache. What the hell? Screamed the blonde. Well, that's what happens when you get several weeks worth of memories in a single second. Explained Iruka. So dispel slowly next time, right? Yeah. Naruto's apartment next day. Naruto was about to leave, when Kyuubi asked, Kit, why haven't you eaten anything? Well, Kakashi-sensei told us not to since we would puke. No. He suggested you not eat. There is a rather large difference. Besides, if he is going to work you as hard as he said, then you're going to throw up regardless of whether or not you have something in your stomach, and if he's as late as he was yesterday, then anything you eat now will have been mostly digested by then. I suppose you have a rather good point, Kyubi. Do you think I should send some clones to the library now? Sure, Kit. You should also leave a number here to practice wall walking and then ceiling walking. Training ground. Hello, Sakura-chan, Tem. Said Naruto casually. Dobi, what are you wearing? Asked Sasuke. Yeah, Naruto. Stop trying to impress me. It's not going to work. Sasuke is my one and only. Yelled Sakura. Why is the first thing you think when you see me doing something different, is that I'm trying to impress you? Are you really that full of yourself? How could I not have noticed? Because you're a moron. Because that's the usual reason, replied Sakura smugly. Naruto shrugged, not able to deny the truth behind the words, and simply said, I felt like a change. I'm a ninja now, so I should at least look the part. Whatever, Dobi, new clothes or not, you're still going to fail this test. Once a loser, always a loser. Naruto shrugged again and sat in the shade to work on his blood control, which with the work of his clones had increased dramatically. 3.5 hours later. Training ground. Yo, said the silver-haired Junin. You're late, screeched Sakura. Hey, well, my alarm clock was broken, he said as he pulled one out of his hip pouch, which was working perfectly, and a pair of bells. Alright, your job is to get these 2 bells from me before noon, which is 1.5 hours away. If you can't get a bell in that time, you will be tied to a stump and I will eat your lunch in front of you. As Sakura and Sasuke's stomach growled, all 3 genin had the same thought. So that's why he didn't want us to eat. Everyone noticed that Naruto's stomach hadn't growled and stared at him. Naruto, for the umpteenth time that day, shrugged and said, it was only a suggestion. You only have to get 1 bell. There are only 2, so one of you will definitely be tied to the stump, and the person who doesn't take a bell fails. So at least one of you will be sent back to the academy. If you want, you can use shuriken and kunai, you won't succeed unless you're actively trying to kill me. Said the Junin, much to the shock of the 3 genin. But, you'll be in danger. Shuriken and kunai are lethal weapons. Shouted the smartest member of the team, Sakura. I highly doubt that. In fact, I'm pretty sure you're more in danger of hurting yourselves with those pointy objects than you are of hurting me. He replied cheerily. At this, the 3 genin were seething and ready to attack the man. He let the statement hang in the air, just to get that extra juicy dose of weak killer intent from his genin. Now, begin. As he said this, all 4 of them jumped in different directions, with Kakashi going to the middle of the clearing. A rather nice breeze began to blow across the training field. The Junin looked towards the forest. Not bad. I can sense them, of course, but they could probably hide from any genin to low-level Chunin opponent. As he thought this, he felt a presence behind him and turned to see Naruto just standing there nonchalantly. Not. You know that you're supposed to be hiding, right? Wondered the Junin. Something tells me that even if I tried to hide from you, I wouldn't be able to. I mean, you are a Junin for a reason. If a genin could sneak up on you, then you suck at your job. Said the boy to the Junin. Thanks for bringing up that point, Kyubi. Thought the boy to his demon. No problem, Kit, though I am going to have to stop spoon feeding you the answers. Said the Kyubi. Oh, you caught that? Asked Kakashi. There's also no way that a fresh from the academy genin could so much as touch you without a direct line to Lady Luck, so something else is going on. I don't know what that something else is, but there you go. Impressive. He figured about half of it out. I'll have to silence him before he can tell the others. Thought Kakashi. As a Junin sensei, I am supposed to teach the 3 basic shinobi arts. Lesson 1, Taijutsu. He told Naruto as he placed one of his hands into his hip pouch. Isn't taijutsu hand-to-hand combat? So why would you be reaching for a weapon? Asked Naruto. A weapon? Aren't you? You are nowhere near the level required for me to use a weapon on you. Replied Kakashi as he pulled out an orange book with the title, Ika Ika Paradise. Sensei. Why do you have a book? Asked the confused as all hell Genin. Why? So that I can figure out what happens in the end, responded the silver-haired Cyclops. With this blatant disrespect, Naruto proceeded to pull out 2 kunai and shuriken and throw them at the man. He then pulled out another kunai and charged as Kakashi caught one of his kunai, blocked the rest of the projectiles with it, and then dropped it. When he reached the Junin, Naruto quickly tried a horizontal slice to cut the man's head off, which was even more quickly ducked under. Naruto then twisted his body in order to heel kick the man, which Kakashi dodged by moving to his left. Naruto then took another swipe with the kunai only for the man to jump backwards. Naruto used the momentum for his swipe in order to spin full circle to increase the power when he threw his kunai. But no one was there. All of a sudden Sakura burst out of the bushes screaming, "Naruto, behind you!" At this Kakashi started saying, "Tula," before getting interrupted by 4 black spikes shooting out of Naruto's back. Shit. He has way more control over it today than he did yesterday. Kakashi screamed in his mind. What were you saying, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Naruto, before getting curb stomped into the river. Well, that didn't go as planned. Thought Naruto to himself underneath the water. What the hell did you expect? You said it yourself, you wouldn't be able to lay a finger on that guy. So what am I supposed to do? Naruto thought back as he used chakra to stick to the bottom of the pond. Think about what he said, there are 2 bells but 3 of you, which would be a 66% pass rate, but yesterday he said it was 9 out of 27, which is 33%. That means that either only 1 of each team will pass, or 3 out of 9 teams of 3 will pass. Now, what does that mean? How the hell should I know? The only thing I can think of is that we are supposed to work together. But, having only 2 bells would make it so that we would fight. Exactly, Kit. What better way to defeat your enemies than to pit them against each other? You may have a point there. Responded the blonde as he ceased using chakra and started to swim to the surface. Did he drown Naruto? Was the combined thought of the 3 people above the water as Naruto hadn't surfaced in over a minute. All of a sudden a number of shuriken began to shoot out at Kakashi, which he simply caught. So you were simply trying to get me to lower my guard, thinking that you had drowned? Asked the man. Not really, I was just thinking, and I think I may have figured out the true nature of this test. Oh, and what's that? I really don't see the need to tell you. Responded the whiskered genin as he charged the man with what appeared to be a staff made of his blood. As the 2 were having their conversation, a Naruto came up on Sasuke and Sakura at the same time and said the same thing. We need to work together. Whatever Dobi, I don't need dead weight, and you'll just hold me back. Said Sasuke, as he went off to find a good place to fight Kakashi, leaving the clone to dispel itself. No way in hell, Naruto. The only one I'll work with is Sasuke-kun, screeched Sakura as she went off into the forest to get away from another Naruto clone, who also dispelled itself. Well, what do you know, he really did figure it out. Thought Kakashi as he dispelled the clone that had been distracting him. What to do? What to do? What do you think, Kyuubi? Asked Naruto from his position in a clearing. Maybe you should wait until they get their asses kicked, and then ask again. Responded the fox. After having a rather pleasant discussion about which type of meat is the best, Naruto said pork while Kyuubi said rabbit, they hear a scream. Looks like Sakura is out of the running. Thought Naruto to the Kyuubi. Probably. Let's go wake her useless up. Kyuubi commanded Naruto. Searching through the forest, Naruto felt a large flare of chakra. Satem is fighting too, huh? I'll find Sakura first and then go scrape him off the forest floor. Soon enough they come upon an unconscious Sakura, and began shaking her to get her awake. Sakura-chan, you need to get up, we need to work together. Soon enough, Sakura began to stir. As she was waking up she started to mumble and then without warning, pounced on Naruto, screaming, Sasuke-kun. After realizing what was going on, she immediately let go and slapped Naruto. Naruto, what are you doing, you pervert? Stop trying to feel me up while I'm unconscious. She scolded. What did I do? I was shaking your shoulder trying to wake you up when you jumped on me. And indignant blonde shouted back. Whatever, Sasuke-kun. Now look what you did. You distracted me so I would lose track of Sasuke-kun and he would die, so that you wouldn't have competition, didn't you? She screeched, accused it of him. I've heard blondes are stupid, but I guess they only hold second place when the pinkets are involved. I was trying to wake you up, Dadbeo. Insisted the blonde as Sakura ran off into the woods. Well, that was a dud deal. He mused to himself, waiting for something to happen. Ah, Sasuke-kun is just ahead. Sigh. Let's go check it out, Kyuubi. I say let them stew in their own filth. Naruto then proceeded to walk over to where he heard the voice from while arguing with the fox. When they reached the clearing, Naruto and Kyuubi stared, and stared, and stared, and then burst out in hysterical laughter at the scene in front of them three. It's a good thing Pinky is wearing pants or duck ass would be getting one hell of a view. After Naruto had calmed down, he made a few clones to help him dig Sasuke out while they talked. Now do you believe me when I say we need to work together? Asked Naruto. Whatever, Dobi, I don't need you. Responded Sasuke, free down to his sternum. Listen Tem, we need to work together. How many two-man teams have you ever heard of? The Sannin, the Inoshika Cho trio, even the fourth had a team. Why would they stick us in a team of three just to tear us apart? Shouted the blonde as he dug up Sasuke's waist. I suppose Dobi. Responded Sasuke as got out of the hole after his teammate finished digging him up. Now let's wake up Sakura. After about 10 minutes, the two of them succeeded in getting Sakura out of La La Land, and after another 5, they got her to stop crying and off Sasuke. It was at that point that Naruto explained his reasoning to Sakura. She at first didn't say anything, looked at Sasuke, nodded to herself, and attacked the blonde. What the hell are you doing? Screamed the blonde as he jumped into a tree. There's no way that Baka, Naruto, would ever think up something like that, so that means you have to be Kakashi-sensei. If you're going to henge into someone you should at least act like them. She shouted as she started throwing kunai and shuriken at him. They've got a point, you know. Observed Kyuubi. Shish, shut the hell up. Sakura-chan, relax. It's me. Shouted Naruto as he dodged and swerved Sakura's attacks, only to be hit by a lucky shot. It was as Naruto was on the ground nursing a gash in his arm, when the bell went off. 5 minutes later, it was an awkward silence that the three genin potentials shared as Kakashi walked up to them, with Sakura tied to a post, Sasuke sitting there, and Naruto with his arm wrapped in bandages. What the hell was that? Kakashi near about screamed at the three of them. This was a total disaster. Sasuke, you decided that the others were worthless and would only bring you down, and then when Naruto was under attack, you did nothing to help him. Sakura, you did absolutely nothing but try to suck up to Sasuke, and Naruto, you tried to do everything by yourself. Naruto did figure out the test, but I need to see actual teamwork, not just talk. Let me ask you something, do you think this is a game? You make me ashamed to be called shinobi. If I had my way, you would be dropped from the program, but I'll give you one more shot, and that's it. Eat your lunches, but Sakura doesn't get any. And with that the man left the three of them with an awkward silence. So what now? Asked Sakura. Here, Sakura-chan, I ate breakfast so I shouldn't be too affected by not eating, and we all need our strength. Responded the blonde as he held out his bento. Here, Sasuke said suddenly as he too offered some of his bento box to Sakura, saying, we can all share, that way we all get to eat some food. And besides, what better way to show teamwork than to feed a starving comrade? As the two males were taking turns feeding the girl, a huge cloud of smoke poofed into existence and out of it Kakashi appeared. You. He screamed, effectively making the three genin crap themselves. You, pass. 3. Kakashi finished with a smile, getting a WTF face from all of them. Huh, was the combined intelligent response. You pass. You are the first to disobey me and feed their comrade, and a true ninja must see underneath the underneath. Said the silver-haired man as he walked to the stone in front of the posts. This stone has a list of heroes. It is a list of those who lost their lives in the line of duty. The names of all my friends are on this stone. Remember, those who disobey the rules are trash, but those who don't care about and abandon their comrades are lower than that. As he was talking, the three children were hanging on every word like a lifeline. He's awesome. Now that concludes the training for today. Meet me here at 7 a.m. Tomorrow we begin our duties as Team 7. The Junin shouted as he gave the three a thumbs up. Yeah! Screamed Sakura and Naruto. Hokage's office 1 month later. The past month became rather routine for Naruto. Wake up, send several shadow clones to library, train with other shadow clones in control, meet up with team, do teamwork exercises for a few hours, eat, do a mission, train some more, go home, eat, go to bed, sleep. Wash, rinse, and repeat. Naruto once more followed the fox's advice and started pumping as much blood as he could into a pair of sealing scrolls, which led to an incident where he had to go to the hospital from lack of blood. With his exercises in control of both his chakra and blood, he is now able to make rather complex shapes for longer periods of time, however the more complex the less time he can control it. The third Hokage was sitting at his desk once again reading the report on Naruto's blood sample. Subject: Naruto Uzumaki. Full report. This new type of blood, while exactly like normal blood in most ways, has distinct differences to normal blood. The most obvious being that it is black. 4. This is due to the fact that it has several times more iron than normal red blood cells, which given the subject's control over it could make it a very versatile and deadly weapon. It also has no discernible blood type. When placed with other samples of blood, the subjects, for lack of a better word, infects the normal blood, turning it into the black blood as well, meaning that the subject could make near infinite amounts by taking the blood of others. It is unknown what would happen if it were to be placed into a living host, but with the aspect of control, it could have very interesting mission aspects. However, when placed with other blood with a Kekkei Genkei 5, it reacted in an extremely violent manner, injuring several of my assistants. When the blood infects another sample, the sample becomes like the black blood in every way. Report end. Here's inside as he took a draw from his pipe. I should get Naruto a physical to see how his body has acclimated to the blood. Just then, a rather scratched up Team 7 walked in, carrying 6, a struggling brown cat with a red ribbon in its hair. Capture Tora mission complete, Hokage-sama. Reported a saluting Kakashi, who coincidentally didn't have a scratch on him. Acknowledged Kakashi. I'll have your team's pay when you walk in tomorrow, said Hiruzen as he placed the demonic feline in a cage to be delivered to its owner. All right, so what do you want to do next? We have painting a fence, carrying groceries, cleaning up lit. Hell no, Gigi. I want a real mission. Something that's an actual challenge. Yelled Naruto. He does have a point, Hokage-sama, said Sakura, while Kakashi just looked impassive, and Sasuke, as usual, brooded. Very well, Naruto. I think I have the perfect C-ranked mission for you, he said as he pulled out a scroll. You will be escorting your client to his home in the Wave Country. You will protect him from things like bandits and thieves. He then raised his voice and said, send him in. After a few moments, the door opened and in came an old man with gray hair, a huge backpack, a straw hat and a bottle of sake. This is my escort. I wanted ninja, not a bunch of brats, he slurred. I assure you, sir, that I have the utmost faith in my team, said an inwardly annoyed Kakashi. Whatever, as long as I get home safe and sound, I don't care. My name is Tazuna, bridge builder extraordinaire, he said, puffing out his chest. You leave tomorrow at 7 for your mission. Good luck. Oh, and Naruto, Kakashi, stay here, I have something I want to give you, said the Hokage as he held up a couple of copies of the medical report. You leave tomorrow at 7 for your mission. Good luck. Oh, and Naruto, Kakashi, stay here, I have something I want to give you, said the Hokage as he held up a couple of copies of the medical report. As the others left for the day, the two walked up to the Hokage's desk and accepted the files. After a few minutes of reading, Kakashi put his down and simply said, well, that's interesting. So does that mean that I could control people with my blood? Asked the rather nervous Genin. In theory, yes, you could also halt all the blood flow in their bodies, or simply tear it out of them in an instant. Though that would be a little gruesome, said Kakashi. After a second's thought, Naruto asked, Gigi, could I ask for a favor? Oh, and what would that be? When we are done with this mission, could we head to the ruins of Uzushiogakure? The tension in the room becoming immediately palpable, the Hokage activated the privacy seals, and urgently asked, how do you know of that place? Well, about 2 weeks ago, one of my clones came across the term while reading a book on the elemental nations. Flashback no jutsu. Man, I'm bored, grumbled one of the Naruto clones disguised as a middle-aged man, while he flipped through the glossary of a random geography book he pulled off the shelf. Let's see. Oni no Kuni, interesting but no. Shimo no Kuni, don't really like the cold. Tori no Kuni, too many nobles. Tasuki no Kuni, never really thought of the moon, always asleep when it comes out. Sum no Kuni, nah, Kiba's mom is terrifying. Uzu no Kuni, hey Uzumaki, Uzu no Kuni, sounds interesting, he thought as he began to once again flip through the pages. Let's see what the book has to say. Uzu no Kuni, located off the coast of Hai no Kuni, and home of Uzushiogakure and the infamous Uzumaki clan, known for their vibrant red hair and powerful chakra. Also known as the Village of Longevity, due to its inhabitants' notoriously long lives. The shinobi of this village were also notorious for their skills in fuinjutsu, which allowed them to do things with chakra thought impossible beforehand. The village was well known for its relationship with Konohagakure, with the Uzumaki being one of the 3 clans which helped found it along with the Senju and the Uchiha, as well as for the Uzumaki clan's relationship with the Senju clan, with the first Hokage marrying one of its members. In fact, this relationship between villages led to the Uzushiogakure symbol being put on the flak jackets worn by Chunin and Junin level shinobi of Konohagakure as a symbol of trust and friendship between the villages. Unfortunately, The village was destroyed and its people, if not wiped out, then scattered to the winds, during the Second Shinobi War, which has had a major impact on the world of shinobi and fuinjutsu, which may never be recovered. My clan was famous. They had an entire village. Why has nobody told me about this? Is this why I don't have a family? So the spiral is the symbol of another village, huh? Fuinjutsu, maybe I should give it a shot. I wonder if I could ever visit the place where my ancestors lived. The place which could have been my home. Thought the clone as he dispelled. Flashback no Jutsu Kai. After that, I decided to learn some more about Fuinjutsu and Uzushiogakure. I've actually been able to make some stuff, but this is it. Explained Naruto as he pulled out 7 small sealing scrolls, 2 of which had his kokutsu sealed inside, and a mass of exploding notes. Naruto, how long have you been able to make those things? Inquired the Hokage. Well, the notes are really easy to make, oddly enough, but I've only been able to make the sealing scrolls for a couple of days. Said the blonde. If that's so, then how did you seal your kokutsu inside those 2 scrolls? Asked Kakashi as he pointed to the 2 in question. I bought them, explained Naruto, but they were really expensive. Gama-chan 1 was almost completely dead, and I didn't really seal all that much into them, only about 7 liters each. Well, I don't see why I shouldn't let you go, but I also don't see why I should either. Tell you what, if you promise to bring back everything you find for myself and a seal master to look at, as well as giving your teammates each one of your scrolls and some of the notes, then you can go. I'll also make whatever you bring back an Uzumaki clan secret so you don't have to give it to the council. I also have some scrolls on Fuinjutsu if you'd like to have them, said Hiruzen. I promise, and thanks Gigi, said Naruto as he headed for the door. When he was gone, the Hokage called out, Neko. And the cat-masked woman appeared. Yes, Hokage-sama. What have you observed about Naruto's new ability? He seems to have a high degree of control over it, as I have seen him make some very inspired shapes. I have also watched him make several different weapons such as a claw, a katana, a tanto, a scythe, and an odachi. He also made a shield, and is apparently able to make his blood harden both over and under his skin to make a form of armor, with which he was able to break one of his clone's hands. He can control the blood up to 30 yards, though he can't make very complex shapes at that distance. Interesting, it would appear that he has been taking his training rather seriously. I wonder how he has been doing on his tree walking. Mused the Hokage. Naruto knows how to tree walk? Asked an incredulous Kakashi. Yes, I told him how the day after he graduated. Wait, how are you unaware of his abilities? What have you been teaching them? Asked the now infuriated Hokage. Teamwork. Kakashi timidly responded. Asked. Kakashi, I'm not disparaging you as a teacher, but you need to actually teach them something. Shouted the Anbu. They are my students, and I will decide what to teach them. What good are fancy jutsu if you don't have the teamwork to back up your squad mates? Shouted a pissed off Kakashi, angry that his competence had been called into question. So says the man who copied over 1,000. What good is teamwork if you don't have the necessary skill to back it up? Honestly, he does no jutsu, and if what you're saying is true, then he learned them on his own. Scrolls are teaching him more than you are. Shouted the equally furious Neko. Kakashi, you need to actually teach your students more than just how to be good squad mates. After they pass the Chunin exams, they may never be on the same squad again. Said the Hokage in an even tone. Kakashi simply huffed and left. So what jutsu did you see Naruto performing? Asked Hiruzen. Well, he knows a few wind techniques such as futon, Daitapa wind style, Great Breakthrough, and futon, Yuha Sho wind style, Beast Wave Palm. As well as a few earth jutsu such as Doden, Ganchiro no Jutsu, Earth Style, Earth Pillar Prison, and Doden, Doryuso, Earth Style, Rising Stone Spears. Interesting, perhaps I should get Jiraiya teach Naruto a few things if Kakashi doesn't. Like what? A few more shadow clone techniques like Shuriken Cage Bunshin, Shuriken Shadow Clone, Kunai Cage Bunshin, Kunai Shadow Clone, and Bunshin Daibakua Clone Great Explosion, some more seals, and how to control his tenant's chakra. Responded the old man. I just hope Kakashi comes to his senses and actually decides to teach them. So do I, Neko. So do I. Next day main gates 7 a.m. Hello Tazuna. Hey Sakura-chan, Tem, I've got something for you. Said Naruto as he walked up to the gate. What could you possibly have for us that would be of use, Dobi, and where's your stuff? Asked a skeptical Sasuke. This is going to be a long mission and I'm not letting you borrow anything. Yeah, Naruto, yelled Sakura, agreeing with Sasuke for the sake of agreeing with Sasuke. Here, said Naruto as he tossed them each a scroll. A scroll. Wow, you want us to read? Thanks, Naruto, drawled Sakura, voice dripping with sarcasm only the biggest of morons wouldn't catch. It's a sealing scroll, said Naruto, slightly irritated. You use it to store things so that you don't actually have to carry as much, allowing you to travel faster and without as much strain. I have a few others, one of which has all my stuff in it. Wow, Naruto, where did you get it? Asked Sakura. Naruto shrugged and said, I made it. HMPH, yeah right Dobi, if you made this then it's not going to work. You probably just bought it somewhere and said you made it so you don't seem as useless. Jabbed Sasuke. Yeah, Naruto, shouted Sakura again. If you don't want them then give them back. Said Naruto. No way, Naruto, these things are valuable. Shouted Sakura. They are? Asked Naruto. I just thought the store where I got my first two was really overpriced. Well, if you did make them you could sell them. Said Sasuke. What about these? Asked Naruto, pulling out around 100 explosive tags. What the hell are you going to do with all of those? Screamed a panicking Sakura. I don't know. Set him off. Responded Naruto. Where? The Hokage Mountain. Sakura was now getting slightly hysterical. Do you guys want some? Asked Naruto, not really caring for the slight mental breakdown his teammate was going through. Sure, said Sakura, calming down in less than a second. Sasuke just shrugged and held out his hand. After giving them each 30 tags, Naruto sat down near the gates to read one of the scrolls on Fuinjutsu the Hokage gave him. Main Gate 730. Hello everyone, said Kakashi nonchalantly as he walked up to the gates. You're late, screamed Sakura. Sorry, I was packing and I didn't notice the time, said Kakashi apologetically. Then you should have packed yesterday, said Naruto as Sasuke nodded. Is everybody ready to get going? Asked the Junin, completely ignoring the blonde. No, Kakashi-sensei, I was waiting for you to show up so I could ask you to wait for a few minutes while I fed my fish. Deadpanned Naruto. Anyways, do you want one? Asked Naruto holding out a sealing scroll. I don't see why not, said the silver-haired man after a moment's consideration. As he sealed his pack into the scroll, he turned to his team and client and said, all right, if we leave now, we should only have to camp once and we'll be there by noon tomorrow. Sasuke, Sakura, we have an addendum to our mission. What is it, Kakashi-sensei? Asked a nervous Sakura as Tazuna sweated in the background. Something which did not go unnoticed by the three male shinobi. When we are finished with the mission we are going on a side trip to a place called Uzushihyogakur. Which made Tazuna confusingly sigh with visible relief. We're going to an allied village? Asked the confused Pinkett. No, we're going to its ruins. The village was destroyed in the early years of the Second Great Shinobi War. So why are we going there? asked Sasuke, finding the whole conversation pointless. Because I asked a favor of Gigi, explained Naruto. What do you mean, Naruto? Asked Sakura. I asked if we could go there after our mission was over with, since it wouldn't be too far out of our way. Why would you want to go there? Because I want to see my home, said Naruto cryptically. What do you mean, your home, Dobi? Konoha is your home. I'll give you 3 guesses as to who said that. It's the village where my clan came from, said Naruto. What clan? You don't have a clan, you're an orphan, said Sakura. Naruto sighed, as he pulled out the book he found 2 weeks ago, turned to the pages on Uzu, and held it out to Sakura. As she read, with Sasuke reading over her shoulder, their faces went through several changes, not the same ones at the same time, of course: confusion, shock, disbelief, disdain, anger, fear, and fascination being some of them. What? Naruto's clan helped found Konoha. Why weren't we taught this in class? If this is any indication, then I seriously need to stop harassing him before he goes postal on me. HMPH, whatever. Couldn't have been that strong if they were wiped out. Well, now that that's settled, let's get on with the mission. Random location on the road. About 5 hours later, Team 7 was on the road to Wave's border. Naruto took the lead with Sasuke, Sakura and Tazuna in the middle. Kakashi took the rear, making sure no one snuck up on them. Nay, sensei, does Wave have shinobi or a cage like Konoha? 2, asked a curious Haruno. No, Sakura. Wave is more of giant port than an actual village. They don't have a shinobi academy, therefore no shinobi. Unfortunately, it also means that nuke nin tend to hide out there, said Kakashi without a care in the world while reading his book. Sakura paled when she thought of fighting renegade ninja. Sasuke just smirked in anticipation. Only the 5 great nations are allowed to call their leader a kage or shadow. Ho no Kuni, the land of fire, has Konohagakure, the village hidden in the leaves, and the Hokage, or fire shadow. Kase no Kuni, the land of wind, has Sunagakure, the village hidden in the sand, and the Kase cage, or wind shadow. Kaminari no Kuni, the land of lightning, has Kumogakure, the village hidden in the clouds, and the Raikage, or lightning shadow. Tsuchi no Kuni, the land of earth, has Iwagakure, the village hidden in the stones, and the Tsuchikage, or the earth shadow. And finally there's Mizu no Kuni, the land of water, with Kurigakure, the village hidden in the mist, and the Mizukage, or the water shadow, said Naruto, who was also reading a book like his teacher, but it wasn't a smut one. Soon the group came across a puddle. That's weird. Why is there a puddle there? We haven't had rain in days, it's a hot dry day, and we're nowhere near a water source. Plus the ground is dry and dusty, so it should be absorbed into the ground by now. Realizing that something must be up, he looked back at Kakashi and made the slightest of motions with his head, gesturing towards the puddle. Kakashi, astounded that Naruto noticed, simply nodded his head almost imperceptibly. Let's see what you can do, Blondie. Suddenly 2 people with the scratched headbands that signified they were missing nins of Kurigakure came out of said puddle and wrapped Kakashi in an odd chain. One down, said the one with his right hand in a strange gauntlet, as they tore Kakashi to shreds. Immediately. After they killed the Junin, righty went after Naruto as lefty went after Tazuna and Sakura. With Naruto. Just as righty was about to impale Naruto, he held up both his arms, elbows and wrists touching, forearms facing out with his palms pointing at himself, and said, Kokutsu Tate Black Blood Shield. And with that, a channels the length of his forearms opened on each of his arms, spewing out black blood to make a circle that was around 3 feet wide and 1 inch thick. As righty's gauntlet bounced off the shield with a loud clang, Naruto put both palms on the black mass and said, Kokatsu Kusari black blood chain, making a large number of tendrils come off of it and wrapping around the missing nin. With Sakura and Tazuna, with Lefty barreling down on her, she did the only thing she could think of doing and placed herself in between Tazuna and the left-handed missing nin. After she did this, Sasuke appeared out of nowhere and kicked the man in the head. As he was sent flying, the Uchiha Genin went through a series of hand seals and finished with Tiger and screamed the name of his jutsu, Kaden, Gokaku no Jutsu, Fire Style, Grand Fireball Jutsu. After the fire died down, Sasuke turned back to his companions and wondered why Sakura looked so horrified. Turning back, he saw Lefty with his claws 6 inches away from his chest. Unable to react, he could only stand there as his life flashed before his eyes. No, I can't die here. I still need to revive my clan. I need to kill him. All of a sudden the attack looked to be in slow motion. As he was wondering this strange new occurrence, Kakashi came back from the apparent dead and caught Lefty in a headlock, knocking the man out. Good work, team, said the cycloptic Junin. Sakura, I'm proud of you protecting the client. Naruto, I'm good work capturing Gozu. And Sasuke, it looks like you unlocked your Sharingan, said Kakashi, praising all of his students. The Dobi was able to capture one and I almost die. That's pathetic. I need to get stronger. With my new Sharingan, I can get strong enough to kill him, so I guess it's not so bad a trade-off, thought Sasuke as he glared at the missing nin writhing on the ground, caught in Naruto's Kokatsu Kusari, black blood chain. Kakashi-sensei, you're alive? Asked Sakura. Of course, Sakura. Something like that would never kill me, said Kakashi, playfully pointing at a pile of wood that signified a substitution 3. But why pretend you weren't when those two attacked? I wanted to see who their target was, explained Kakashi. Ninjas attacking ninjas is one thing, ninjas attacking civilians is another, he said, turning to Tazuna. We need to talk. As Kakashi and Tazuna were having their conversation, Naruto was simply examining the prisoners. Those are some pretty interesting gauntlets, said the Kyuubi. Perhaps. What about 'em? Why not take them? Why would I do that? If I want claws, I'll just make them with the Kokatsu. Oh, and if you're separated from it? If you're so low on chakra you can hardly stand. Face it, Kit, you need a weapon. Isn't that what kunai and shuriken are for? They're not really weapons, more like basic tools. Very well, I'll take them, said Naruto to the fox as he slipped the gauntlets off the missing nins and placed them into a sealing scroll, with the only one noticing being Kakashi. He then turned back to the others as they finished up the conversation. So what do you guys think? Asked Kakashi. We should continue the mission, sensei, said Naruto. I agree with the Dobi, it would look good on our records to have an A- rank as a genin, said Sasuke. And I wouldn't feel right just leaving Tazuna to die, said Sakura. Well, it looks like it's your lucky day, Tazuna, said a cheery Kakashi. Thank you. You have no idea what this means to me, said a relieved bridge builder. Just so you guys know, now that the Chunin level assassins failed, the nest will be stronger, possibly Junin. You will leave them to me and protect the client. Do you understand? Hi Kakashi-sensei, course the 3 genin. Good. Now let's be on our way. Shoreline. As they came up to the beach, Tazuna walked up to a man in a boat and asked, Is everything ready? The man simply nodded and motioned for everyone to get into the boat. As they approached the other shore and saw the bridge, Naruto couldn't help but voice everyone's thoughts, albeit rather loudly. Damn, that's a big bridge, Datbeo. As Kakashi admonished the genin, the boat pulled up to the shores of Wave Country, signaling that their boat ride was over. This is where I leave you, Tazuna-san. Good luck, wished the boat driver as he sailed away. Forest clearing. Naruto had just mentally scarred a rabbit, when all of a sudden a huge Zanbato-type blade cleaved through the air and embedded itself into a tree as Kakashi yelled for everyone to get down. Suddenly a man appeared on the handle of the blade, balancing perfectly as he stared at the 5 people on the ground. Sharingan number Kakashi. No wonder the demon brothers lost. If you don't mind, I'm here to kill the old man, so just hand him over, he said as Tazuna paled. Zabuza Momochi, demon of the bloody mist. Bloody mist That gives me an idea. What are you doing here? He said as he pulled up his Hite 8 to reveal his Sharingan. I already get to see the Sharingan, I'm honored. I'm here to kill the old man, said Zabuza as he and his sword disappeared, only to reappear on the surface of the water. Looks like I get to have a little fun. Kurigakure no Jutsu, hiding in the mist. All of a sudden the area was flooded with a thick white mist, with Kakashi yelling at his students to protect Tazuna and not to enter the fight. Then the voice of the demon rang out through the mist. 8 points. There are 8 points on the human body which guarantee a kill. Larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular, subclavian artery, kidneys, and heart. 8 points and only 5 people. Which to choose, said Zabuza as his killer intent flooded the area. I can't breathe, thought Sasuke as he unknowingly inched a kunai towards his own throat, so this is a real ninja. The waiting is worse than the actual confrontation. It almost makes you want to end it all just to make the feeling stop. Sasuke, relax, said Kakashi, turning towards his student. I won't allow my comrades to die. I'll protect you with my life. Trust me. Well, that's good enough for me, said Zabuza as he stood in the middle of the group poised to strike. Shit, thought Kakashi as he rushed Zabuza and stabbed him in the stomach, causing him to dissolve into water. Water clone, exclaimed Kakashi, giving Naruto another great idea. You didn't think it would be that easy, did you? Asked the demon, sliding his own kunai into Kakashi's liver, causing him to burst into water as well as the cold edge of a kunai pressed against Zabuza's throat. It's over, said Kakashi. Zabuza just laughed as he dissolved into water with the real one appearing behind Kakashi, swinging his sword. Kakashi ducked a swing of the blade but couldn't get out of the way in time to stop himself from getting kicked into the lake. What's with this water? It's so heavy, almost as if it's crap. Suiro no Jutsu, water prison jutsu, said Zabuza as he trapped Kakashi in a sphere of water, and several water clones appeared. What do we do? What do we do? Screamed a frantic Sakura. We free Kakashi-sensei, that's what we do. Sasuke, you get the clones, Sakura, you protect Tazuna, and I'll free Kakashi-sensei, said Naruto as he unrolled 2 scrolls with the kanji for blood on them. Oh, what is the brat going to do? Wondered Zabuza. Fuinjutsu Kai. Kokutsu, sealing technique release. Black blood, shouted Naruto as 14 pints of blood shot out of the scrolls. What the hell? He has a bloodline. Oh, this is not good. Haku, you better come through for me here. Kokutsu Mori, black blood spear, said Naruto as the blood formed onto several lances which shot at Zabuza. Damn, thought the demon as he was forced to move to avoid getting skewered, freeing Kakashi. The blood then came back to Naruto, surrounding him in a cloud, some of it forming into a pair of katanas. A swordsman. Not a lot of experience, but he's got latent talent. With Kakashi now free, he shot at Zabuza and they both used the Suiryuden no Jutsu, water dragon jutsu, another good idea, thought Naruto, on each other and then engaged in a fierce kenjutsu battle, Zabuza with his Kubikiri Bocho, and Kakashi with a kunai. After it became obvious that neither would win, they each backed off and began performing the exact same hand seals. How is he doing this? Thought Zabuza. It's like he can foretell my every move. Right, Zabuza? Taunted Kakashi. What? Can he read my mind? You bastard. You are nothing but a monkey, copying everything I do. I am the original, the genuine article. Suddenly a spectral Zabuza appeared behind Kakashi doing the same motions as the two Junins. What? What is that? That's me, but how? Is this a genjutsu? Zabuza asked himself, causing a brief moment of hesitation that allowed Kakashi to finish his jutsu. Sweden. Kaibakufu no Justu, Great Waterfall, then a swirling vortex appeared around Kakashi and shot at Zabuza with tremendous force, careening him into a tree, which Kakashi then pinned him to with kunai, and landed on. How? Can you see the future? Stammered the demon. Yes. And I see your death, said Kakashi. Then Zabuza's neck was suddenly pierced by a few senbon and he fell limp. What do you know? You were right. Thank you for helping me. I've been hunting him for a while, said a masked person standing in a tree. After Kakashi checked that Zabuza was dead, he told the hunter, all right then, I guess our job is done here, so let's go. As he put his hite-8 over his eye again. Then the masked man took the body and the sword and left, something which Kakashi found strange. He wasn't able to comment on it though since he collapsed from exhaustion. Tazuna, where's your house? Asked Sakura. About 20 minutes from here. Why? What's wrong with him? Asked a frantic bridge builder. He's exhausted and needs rest, replied Naruto as he picked up his sensei. Tazuna's house. Ah! Screamed Naruto and Sakura as Kakashi's eyes shot open a foot from their own. My head. It feels like I went guys' night out with Van Wilder. Wait, who the hell is Van Wilder? Oh well. That hunter Nin. They took the body. Why would they do that? They're supposed to destroy it then and there. They could have been anxious around the children, but I doubt that. Also those weapons he used. Senbon. Oh crap. Zabuza's still alive, isn't he? We need to up your training, said Kakashi suddenly, catching his team off guard. What? Why? Asked Naruto. Because Zabuza is still alive. What? How do you know? The hunter Nin. They took the body instead of destroying it right then and there, and they used Senbon, which can easily put someone into a near-death state. One by itself could be a coincidence, but both at the same time is pushing it. We need to assume that Zabuza is alive and plan accordingly. Would a little training really help us? I mean, you're an elite Junin and you barely beat him. Don't worry about it. Why are you trying so hard? Asked a little boy in a white hat. Inari. Give Gigi a hug, shouted Tazuna as he threw open his arms. Hey Gigi. Inari. Say hello to the shinobi who helped me get home safe. But why Gigi? They're just gonna die soon. You little bastard, shouted Naruto. It's true, you can't defeat Gato or his thugs, you're just gonna die. Deadpanned Inari. We're ninja boy, it'd be pretty embarrassing if we couldn't handle a couple of bandits, said Kakashi as he helped Sakura and Sasuke hold back a fuming Naruto. Whatever, if you don't want to die I suggest you just leave, said Inari as he walked up the stairs to his room. Sorry about that, he's had a hard life, said Tazuna apologetically. It's alright, said Kakashi. Now, we have a big day tomorrow, so get some sleep. Next day, random clearing in the woods. Alright, the first thing I want to talk about is chakra, said the silver-haired Junin. Why? Asked Sasuke. We already know how to use chakra for ninjutsu and things like that. Perhaps, but you're not using it right, admonished Kakashi. What do you mean, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Sakura. What I mean is you aren't using it efficiently. Even if you are able to release a high amount of chakra, unless you control it properly, the jutsu will be weakened or not work in the first place. And by wasting energy, you won't be able to fight as long as you should be and you'll die. So what should we do? Asked Sakura. Learn to control it. And how do we do that? Tree climbing. Seriously. We're doing this now. Asked Naruto as he began calmly walking up a tree. How is the Dobi doing that? Asked Sasuke. Chakra. My fine duck-haired friend, Chakra, said Naruto. What do you mean Naruto? Asked Sakura. You send chakra to your feet and use it to adhere to the wood. Too much and you get blasted off, too little and you don't stick in the first place. All right then, since you already know how to do this Naruto, you can do whatever you want today. Said Kakashi. What? How does he already know how to do this? Asked Sakura. I asked Gigi how the day we met Kakashi-sensei. Said Naruto. Why would he tell you? Asked Sakura. Because I asked. Explained Naruto. Hey sensei. Are we going to have a life or death struggle looming over the horizon before every actual lesson? You say something. Asked Kakashi as somewhere in Konoha a man with a bowl cut and a green leotard face faltered for seemingly no reason. Kakashi-sensei, can you follow me? There's something I want to talk to you about. Inquired Naruto. Random clearing in the woods. Let's see. From that battle I got the idea for 3 jutsu, the Kokutsu Bunshin, Back Blood Clone, the Kokutsu Kiri, Blood Mist, and the Kokutsu Ketsuryuden, Black Blood, Blood Dragon Jutsu. I've never made a jutsu before, so I was wondering if you had any ideas. Explained Naruto to Kakashi. Well, I would suggest you start with the clone jutsu, since you already know the non-elemental form of it. How do I do that? Wondered the blonde. Simple, said Kakashi. Instead of making a clone out of nothing, you make one with the Kokutsu. And how do I do that? The same way you would make any other type of clone. Perhaps I should teach you Doden Cage Bunshin first and then you can move on to making your Kokutsu clone. Said Kakashi. Thanks Kakashi-sensei. Exclaimed Naruto, but what about the other 2? One at a time Naruto, one at a time. Said Kakashi as he pulled out a blank scroll and proceeded to copy down the instructions for the jutsu. Forest clearing morning 3 days later. Naruto was passed out on the ground due to chakra exhaustion due to his working out his frustrations about what Inari said about him not knowing pain. After he had snapped, he left to go practice his Doden Cage Bunshin, Earth Sato clone, and could now do it effortlessly. He was about to try to use his Kokutsu instead when he collapsed. This was the scene Haku walked in on as the fake hunter Nin was looking for herbs in a pink kimono and hair down, a passed-out blonde not that much younger than the ice user, 5, with a leaf hite 8 and several small piles of mud and dirt surrounding him. As Haku knelt beside him and reached out to him, Haku thought, it would be so easy. You're going to catch cold if you sleep out here, said the young ninja, shaking Naruto awake. Naruto, still in his half-sleeping haze, saw the most beautiful face that he had ever seen, and with his heart pounding and his stomach feeling strange, he whispered the first thing that came to his mind. Tenshi, 6. As Haku blushed, the fake hunter Nin asked, what are you doing out here? I'm training, said Naruto. Whatever for? You look strong enough already. I need to become stronger though. And why is that? So I can become the best in my village, and to make everyone acknowledge my strength, Datbeo. Do you have someone precious to you? I have several. Why do you ask, miss? I believe fighting for someone who is precious to you can truly make you strong. And how would you know that? Asked a suddenly suspicious Naruto as he narrowed his eyes. Only years of training kept Haku from flinching at his question. Just something I've observed, said Haku nonchalantly. All right, conceded Naruto, not fully convinced. Well, since you're here, can you help me pick some herbs? They're for a friend of mine. Asked Haku, changing the subject. All right, miss. As they picked the herbs, a comfortable silence hung over them, though neither really knew what to say to the other. After they picked the last of the herbs that Haku needed, Naruto said, goodbye, I hope to see you again, and be careful, times like these it's not safe to walk around alone, miss. I'm sure we'll see each other again soon, Naruto. Oh, and by the way, I'm a boy, said Haku as the disguised nin walked away. Holy crap, he's hotter than Sakura. Finally found your mate, Kit. This one is at least acceptable. Sorry Kyuubi, I don't swing that way. Though I get the feeling he wasn't telling the whole truth about something. I better follow him. So using the skills that allowed him to paint the Hokage mountain in broad daylight, wearing orange, not get caught until after he was done, and then allowed him to outrun Abu, he followed Haku. Where is he going? There aren't any towns around here. Soon they both reached a dilapidated hut in the woods, which Haku entered after making sure that nobody was around. What could possibly be in there? His friend. But why would he check to see if the coast is clear? Naruto then snuck in after making a cage bunshin and ordering it to follow anyone who came out that wasn't him, and found Zabuza lying in a bed with Haku standing next to it as an angry-looking midget with two bandits yelled at him. What am I paying you for? You get the job done or I'll dispose of you and find someone who won't be beaten by a bunch of brats. Keep your panties on, Gato. I was unprepared last time, what with Sharingan Kakashi and some brat with a bloodline I've never seen before, said Zabuza. I don't care if the Hokage himself showed up. You kill that bridge builder or our contract is finished, screamed Gato as he walked out followed by his samurai bodyguards. How much longer do we have to keep working for that slime ball? He tends to look at me a little too much, asked Haku. Until we kill the bridge builder or until something better comes up. He's keeping the hunter nin off our backs, and if we kill him that'll make too much of a fuss. After giving a very feminine giggle, Haku asked, so which of those kids had the bloodline? That was kinda cute, thought Naruto. The blonde one, replied Zabuza, making Haku stiffen momentarily. Why, are you interested, little girl? Little girl. Haku told me he was a guy. Unless she was lying to protect herself. A little bit. No, just wondering. I need to report this to Kakashi-sensei, thought Naruto as he left the shack. With the clone. Okay. Boss said to follow anyone who isn't him, so I guess I'll follow the short guy. After a while the short man and his two bodyguards came to a small fortress and he followed them in, thinking, who is this loser? Why would he have such a large and well-defended place? Damn missing nin, it's a good thing I never intended to pay the bastards anyways. Gato thought out loud to himself. And my men will have fun with the girl. Girl. Does he mean Haku? Haku is a girl. But why would she tell me she's a guy? Unless she was protecting herself, thought the clone. You all know your jobs, right? Asked Gato to the shirtless thug. Yeah. When you go to kill Zabuza or anyone else that remains after the attack, we go get Tazuna's family in order to get some leverage on him, said the thug. Correct. I don't understand why that idiot, demon, actually thinks I'm going to pay him. So much cheaper to hire bandits, though no match for ninjas, mused Gato. I need to tell the boss this, thought the clone as it went to go find a safe place to dispel in. Tazuna's house. So let me get this straight. After you snapped at our client's grandson and made him cry, you went out into the woods alone and trained until it nearly killed you, and perfected the jutsu, then passed out, only to be awoken by a stranger, and immediately agreed to help them pick herbs, after which they told you they were a guy. Then you went into an enemy base, where you came across this same person with an alive Zabuza and Gato talking about the hit, and then you found out that this Haku is actually a girl, while at the same time you had a clone follow Gato who revealed that when Zabuza attacked again he would have two of his thugs attack Tsunai and Inari and then he would put all of us 6 feet under. Is that right? Have I missed anything? Asked an exasperated Cyclops. No, said a sheepish Naruto. I don't know whether to be proud or worried. Both. Why not? How were you able to sneak into both Zabuza's base and Gato's fortress anyways? asked Kakashi. I don't know, I guess I'm just that good. I mean, I've been sneaking past Anbu and Gigi and the various clans for years and nobody noticed beforehand. With those sneaking skills of his, and if those pranks of his are any indication, his trap-making skills, I'm going to have to recommend him for special Junin or Anbu when he gets a little more experience and makes Chunin. Maybe by then he'll also be a seal master. Anyways, good work Naruto, you may have won us the battle before we even started fighting. At the bridge day of the fight, who did this to you? Tazuna frantically asked a dying worker. A demon, said the man as he passed away. Well, it looks like we meet again. And all three of your brats are here. Excellent, I've been hoping for a rematch, said Zabuza as he materialized in the mist with Haku next to him wearing her full Hunter Nin battle regalia. Zabuza, wait. We are not your enemies, said Kakashi. Oh, and who is? Asked the swordsman. Gato is. He never planned on paying you. He's planning to wipe out the survivors after our fight to the death. And how do you know this? We have a trusted source on the inside, explained Kakashi. Interesting. Well, how about we give him what he wants? What do you mean? We spar a little and wait for the prick to show up with his army and then play a little game of, who's the better killer? I don't see why not, said Kakashi. So me and you, Haku and your brats. We won't go after the bridge builder since if what you say is true we have no need for him. Why don't you come with us to Konoha? Asked Naruto as he received the memories of the dozen or so clones he left to take care of Gato's bodyguards. What do you mean, brat? Asked Zabuza. Why don't the two of you come to Konoha? You could teach people Kenjutsu and Haku could work at the hospital or as a shinobi with her skills. How do you know I'm female? I thought I told you I was a boy. Wondered Haku. I followed you and saw your conversation with Gato about the Hokage and stuff. After the various spars in which Kakashi defeated Zabuza once again and Sakura and Sasuke were taken down, non-lethal of course, and Naruto simply hardened his blood under his skin, making the needles just bounce off of him before destroying the mirrors with his Kokutsu Mori, Black Blood Lance. Gato came out with his army and revealed his master plan of killing everyone there. He then noticed that no one actually looked all that hurt except for two people on the ground stuck full of needles, but he could see that they were breathing and he wondered what was going on here. Oh, I already knew all that stuff, said Zabuza. What do you mean? These guys told me. Now I suppose it's about time we play who's the better killer, break into your house, steal everything of value, burn the place to the ground and go on to Konoha. Actually, before we go there, we're going to the ruins of Uzushiogakure, said Kakashi. Never heard of the place. Why are we going there? It was destroyed in the Second Shinobi War and it might have some of my blonde students' family scrolls and jutsus and things like that. The one with the bloodline? Yeah, but that's a different matter altogether. What do you mean? Hey, impending death, evil businessman, master plan, any of this ringing a bell? Yelled Gato. Oh yeah, I forgot about him, said Zabuza. Looks like there are around 300 of them. Who's the better killer? My favorite game. The Short Slaughter, you couldn't really call it anything else, except maybe massacre, consisted of Kakashi attacking a huge group of men with a few Kage Bunsen, Shadow clones, while Zabuza and a few Mizu Bunsen, Water clones, focused on Gato, eventually killing him, which pissed off the bandits who started talking about killing all the men and taking the women, before a crossbow bolt hit the ground in front of them and Inari was shown to be there with around 100 of his fellow villagers, causing the bandits to cut and run before any more of them died. How many you get? Asked Kakashi. 112, replied the Mist Demon. Damn, I only got 103. Naruto. Do your thing. What do you mean, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Naruto. Remember what your blood analysis said. explained Kakashi as he pointed to the huge pool of blood. Oh, said an understanding blonde as he went around converting the normal blood to his koketsu, though rather queasily as the thought was rather unsettling, which he then sealed evenly into his 2 scrolls. We killed 215 of them, at 5 liters each, that's 1075 liters, divided evenly between 2 scrolls, each of which already had 7 liters inside, and you get 544.5 liters inside each scroll. Nice haul, Naruto, said Kakashi. Thanks, said the still rather green blonde. So what now, Kakashi-san? Asked Haku. We protect Tazuna until the bridge is finished, during which I'll tell the Hokage about you two, then we'll go to Uzu, and see what we can find. Tazuna's house next day. Zabuza was currently keeping his promise to the late Gato, and was ransacking the dead man's house for anything of value with a rather large sealing scroll that Naruto made for him on the provision that he be given a 20% cut. After laughing at the audacity of the kid, he accepted and left around noon, and he still hadn't come back yet. Naruto was talking to his sensei about what they might find in Uzu when he suddenly smelled himself and decided to take a bath. He had just opened the door, when suddenly he caught a face full of Haku clad only in a towel, showing him that Haku was most definitely female. After staring at each other for a moment, Haku went red as a beet and screamed, "Kya, pervert." Naruto's last conscious thought of that day before he was sent into a wall by Haku's righteous fist of female fury, embarrassment, was, "Kya. That was kinda cute." Tazuna's house next day. What happened? Asked a bleary Naruto as he woke up propped upside down against a wall. You got knocked out, that's what happened, said Sasuke as he placed a bowl of cereal and a glass of orange juice on the floor next to Naruto. Why did that happen? Asked a still slightly concussed blonde. Apparently you didn't knock on the bathroom door as Haku was taking a bath, explained Sasuke. Remembering the events of the night before, Naruto had to wipe a bit of blood from his nose as he got up to eat the breakfast Sasuke had brought him. So where is everybody? Asked Naruto. Downstairs. Zabuza came back sometime last night covered in blood and drunk off his. A drunken demon, that's either the funniest thing you'll ever see or the most terrifying. Probably a little bit of both, said Sasuke as Naruto finished his breakfast and went downstairs for more. As he entered the kitchen, both Sakura and Haku glared at him and chorused, "Morning, pervert." After sighing and mumbling something about accidents, he got a piece of fruit from the bowl on the table and asked Zabuza, "So, what did you get?" "A lot of money, some artifacts, a few weapons. Don't worry, you'll get your cut, damn brat." "Hey Zabuza, can you teach me that hidden mist jutsu? I want to see if I can use my koketsu instead of water." "An interesting idea, brat. What do I get out of it?" "So when will the bridge be finished?" asked Kakashi, ignoring the two. "In a few days, now that no one is sure that Gato is going to kill us all," said Tazuna. "Good.